Hi, today we have with us Mr. Babu, President, Indian Electrical and Electronics Manufacturers Association. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
So you have been holding road shows for IEEMA. Tell us more about the event and what it means for the industry.
So the first show started in the 90s. Let me first tell you about IEEMA, the association. The association represents almost 98% of electrical and industrial electronics equipment related to the power sector. So all the equipment produced by our members. We have 800 members. Our combined turnover is about $23 billion, and our export is worth about $5.6 billion. So this show is to showcase our industry's capability, but it's grown in stature, and this will be the 12th edition in February 2016 from 13th to 17th. We kept adding more and more activity to the show, and I'll tell you more about what we're doing this year.
Where do you peg the growth of the Indian sector going ahead?
Well, any industry sector grows with the country.
Yeah.
But power being a core infrastructure sector is backbone for any economic growth. And as our population grows and our per capita consumption grows, there has to be more consumption. So traditionally, there's been huge gap between demand and supply. This government has done quite a lot to bridge that gap between demand and supply, first by addressing the fuel shortage. So the coal shortage has been addressed very, very effectively. Then the transmission and distribution sector is being looked at. The renewable sector is being looked at. So the industry did add a lot of capacity in the last few years on the promise of previous governments that the growth, the demand will come, but the demand didn't come at that time. So the industry is waiting for the demand to pick up. We have seen some growth in certain of our divisions. So our association has 22 divisions. So there's a transformer division, a conductor division, a meter division, like that we have several divisions, including renewables. So some divisions have seen growth already, others hope to see it soon.
Okay. If you have to list out the 5 major challenges that the industry is facing today, right, what would those be?
First is the demand. Yeah. Second is, in case of imports, we don't want, the industry is not looking for protection, we want level playing field. That is the challenge for this. Global economy's uncertainties also impact our sector, because our industry doesn't supply to government alone, it also supplies to non-government sector as well. And that depends on what the demand in that sector is. So, so industries, if they're not doing well, they won't buy more electrical equipment. So that's a challenge. Skill set enhancement is a bit of a challenge, the kind of output we get from academic institutions. So we're engaging with a lot of academic institutions to tell them more about our needs and engage them. That is a challenge. And then, to be able to export enough, so the right, all across the country. That is a collective challenge for us, which we're trying to address. Those are the 4 or 5 challenges.
Talking about exports, imports still dominate the sector a lot. And when the government is talking about initiatives like Make in India, do you think that the domestic industry can really grow and compete with the kind of imports we have, cheaper imports?
Let me answer the question in 2 parts. One is capability. There is more than enough capability within our membership to deliver everything which is required for the country. In many areas, we have absolutely outstanding research and development facilities, and the industry is absolutely committed to invest more when required. At the moment, as I said earlier, we have overcapacity. So we have the capability, we have the capacity. Imports are done because the buyer many buyers look at initial cost of the equipment. And that's where the level playing field comes in. So I won't name the countries, but you can probably guess. If there are subsidies given, then we can't compete. Cost of finance for those suppliers may be much lower, added with capacity. You know, the government can't do anything about some of the things. For instance, forex. You know, what can the government do about forex? That's something the industry learns to compete. But when it comes to subsidies, it is an issue.
Okay. I think another major concern is T&D losses.
Yeah.
So, what is the solution going ahead?
Right. So, you know, the government has come up with this scheme, which we all know about, called UDAY, which has 4 parts to it. You know, already most of the states have signed up to UDAY scheme, especially where the losses were high. 90% already signed up. It reduces the interest cost, so that bit is done pretty well. Banks are also pretty keen to. Industry is very, very supportive of UDAY scheme. And one of the key things in the UDAY scheme is reduction of AT&C losses. Now, losses happen because of technical and non-technical reasons. There are 3 main reasons for losses: technical reasons, commercial losses, and then you know, theft. So, in terms of, you know, let's say you have, in terms of metering, you have bypass of meters, a lot of tamper on meters and all that. Industry is fully prepared. There's more research done in India on preventing tamper fraud than anywhere else in the world. So the technology is available. Then you have a social problem of theft. See, electricity theft is highest in India around the world. You know, if we have a bank robbery of 5 lakh rupees, it hits the newspaper. But we have electricity theft almost about $10 billion a year. We don't talk about it enough. We need a public awareness about how big this problem is. Engage people, name and shame people if required, but more than that, tell people that if people keep engaged in electricity theft, then we can't supply electricity to everybody. We can't reduce the tariffs because you got to subsidize those people who are stealing electricity. So honest people subsidize the thieves, and that's a very unfair social balance. So collectively everybody has to work. Technology is definitely there to detect and prevent tamper. Utilities are working on it. So a collaborative work, like in Delhi, we saw a reduction of losses from 60% down to sub 10% now, with Tata and Reliance working on that, and public also participating into that. We've seen in Manipur recently where a young managing director of DISCOM got engaged, and Imphal has seen reduction of losses and almost 22 hours power supply. So it's possible.
Okay. But could you give us a clearer sense as in how exactly would UDAY help the electricals sector?
So let me bring down the 4 parts of UDAY then. First is the interest rate reduction by converting this DISCOM's responsibility. 75% of it gets passed on to the state. And the state then is issuing bonds. So the interest rates will come down from 14 or thereabouts, 14% to about 8%. So there's straight 6% savings in terms of interest costs. That in terms of these loss-making states could mean a few thousand crores a year in terms of interest costs alone. The balance 25% which remains with DISCOM also is backed up by the state, and they will issue bonds. So there also it will be helpful. Then the DISCOM's balance sheet becomes much cleaner now with this. Then the power purchases are becoming better, which is the second bit of UDAY. So you don't buy electricity at high rates. I mean, in certain states, electricity was bought at 11 rupees and supplied at 4 rupees. Yeah. Now you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that if you buying at 11 rupees and selling at 4 rupees, the losses will go up. And that too was used for pumping water 300 meters below the ground with pumps which were working at 30% efficiency, and that's what caused all those losses. So that will be addressed. Other 2 parts are the one which we discussed: AT&C loss reduction and operational efficiency improvement. So UDAY puts focus, but the key of success of UDAY, the first 2 parts are already working well, and people are responding to it. Banks also have, and one good thing the government has done is clear communication about what this plan is. And that's very important, for people to understand what schemes are. and how will they benefit from it. So that communication is pretty regular. And the minister has, like the LED scheme that he did, or the rural electrification scheme he's done, he's put everything on the web. You can get it on your mobile telephone and applications. So those are good things, and Uday will probably follow that. But the challenge is with the states implementing the AT&C loss reduction. So there's technology being thought about it, but it has to be a combination of technology, people and processes. And the states have to ensure that the people and processes bit with the technology works to reduce the AT&C losses. Then only Uday works successfully really to what it's meant to do.
The government is also laying a lot of emphasis on transmission lately. So what kind of growth do you see for the electronic sector when it comes to transmission?
So as I said earlier, there's been first focus on generation, deep bottlenecking the big power projects, fuel linkages being established, renewables being addressed. On transmission, there are 2-3 bigger focus areas for the government. One is evacuating power from the big renewable projects which are coming up, and other UMPPs which are coming out. And other is the linkage between the northern and southern region. So we have surplus generation in north and demand in south. So if you look at the demand-supply gap, which was about 8.9% last year, it's come down to about 3.2% this year. Pretty good work. In fact, there's enough power, but there aren't enough takers sometimes in the day, because discoms don't have money to pay. So transmission in these areas is a good, there's good scope for growth here.
For electronics sector?
For the electrical sector, yeah.
Okay. What kind of margins is the electronic industry and the electrical industry is witnessing right now?
Not enough.
Not enough?
Not enough.
If you could give us a number and the issues.
Look, it varies from sector to sector. Why I tell you not enough is when you have surplus capacity, you invested huge capital into equipment, machinery, research and development. So you've done all that in hope that it'll be amortized over a period of time. When that doesn't happen, your margins are squeezed. The other big problem for power sector, because most of our customers are state utilities, we don't get paid in time.
Yeah.
So it takes up to from between 6 months to 12 months to get paid. I'm not saying all utilities don't pay for 6 months, but most don't pay for 6 months. So that's an interest cost of about 7-8% itself for 6 months. That's where the margin gets squeezed.
Could you give us a number as in how much are the outstandings right now from the utilities?
I told you that turnover, so $23 billion minus $6 billion is the domestic sales. Outstanding of on an average 6 months, you can do the sums yourselves.
Great.
It's a huge sum of money.
The government has also come up with the idea of smart cities. Yeah. What it means for the electronic sectors, because there is a lot of opportunity where the sector can do in this. Yeah,
so the electrical, electricity, you can't be smart without smart electricity, because everything smart you do, you need electricity and electronics or smarts to go with it. So you need a smart infrastructure, a reliable infrastructure which gives you 24/7 electricity at the least possible cost. So convenience and comfort is what a smart citizen looks for. You don't see electricity, so it's not a commodity that you see and experience, but without it you can't be smart. So the quality of supply should be stable, the voltages should be stable, it should be on all the time, it should be available wherever I need it and whenever I need it. That is what smart electricity's role is. So whatever you want to do, whether it's traffic signaling or smart health or smart homes or smart roads, electricity would be required in all those areas, and interconnectivity. And then the other thing on the smart city which the electrical sector can join up with is the comms infrastructure. So doing a smart city, you need a smart communication infrastructure. So we can have a common infrastructure between the smart electricity where the meters are read through a comms link. The same communication then can be used for traffic light control or managing your vehicles or those kind of infrastructure. So we can amortize the cost of comms infrastructure over several smart facilities.
Okay. Big opportunities.
Big opportunities.
Um, SMS sector is coming up very greatly, and the government is also that they are giving coal blocks to the state so that they can sell coal to the SME sector, PSUs. What kind of opportunities do you see in that sector?
When you said SME, small and medium enterprises, look, 80% of our membership is SME sector. SME sector is the biggest employer in anywhere in the world. So is the case in India. So one of the key focus of our Prime Minister is also create jobs. We'll create more jobs if SME does well. We are very focused within our association. We have a SME division, and we have got a very senior industry person mentoring that division. I personally met several of our members looking at their specific requirements. We invited Sri Kalraj Mishra to our annual convention. We interacted very closely with him. He's given all the support. Mr. Mishra also will be coming to IEEMA to inaugurate one of the big days of innovation that we are doing. The secretary in MSME, Mr. Pujari, also is very supportive through skill centers and supporting. So the challenges of availability of cash. So we're also doing what we call from network to net worth sessions. We invite investors who can then help investing for the MSME sector. So it's very important. Then within the association, these MSME suppliers supply to some of our bigger members, bigger in size. So they are vendors to some of our members. So we try to help that interaction as well.
Okay.
And we're exposing them for exports. So we are organizing what we call a reverse buyer-seller meet, where these MSME sector people who can't travel overseas will meet these buyers in Bangalore.
That's wonderful. Finally, what are your expectations from the government in the upcoming budget?
Implementation of the schemes and engagement. So, one very positive thing about the current government is the process of dialogue. I think the industry is consulted in the process of dialogue, which we'd like to continue. The speed of decision making and, for the states to engage with this. So there has to be synchronization, what the central government is doing and what the state governments are doing. That has to be synchronized. And if the industry has a role to play in that. So we are trying to directly approach the states as well. So we have a utility outreach program and we are talking to all the state electricity boards or the DISCOMs and the transmission companies and the generation companies, and we're doing this. IEEMA, let me tell you about IEEMA. This IEEMA is very different because we will have about 1,100 exhibitors. This is world's largest transmission and distribution show. So I'm very proud Indian to say that. We will have more than 110,000 visitors. We have also organized what we call World Utility Summit, first of its kind in the world, where we're calling 50 CXOs from around the world. We'll exchange best practices. So we have people visiting from Europe, US, Australia, Africa, China. The state grid head of China is coming. Think about state grid of China and state grid head of India exchanging notes to the world's largest state grids. So we'll have best practices exchange. As I told you, we are organizing reverse buyer-seller meet. So we organize road shows in 20 countries. We're doing 20 road shows in India to reach out to people to explain them what IEEMA is. Then we have 4 union ministers. 5 government departments are supporting us. 4 union ministers, the power minister, the MSME minister, railway minister, and Shri Anant Gite will be coming to IEEMA and interacting with our teams. PSU is also showcasing themselves. All the large power sector PSUs are also showcasing themselves. Renewable energy also showcasing themselves. So that's a good scene.
Okay, I guess that would be all from Mr. Babel. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.